All right, now this is the Sync4 media screen that you're going to find. This is the F150 Lightning, and it's the full phablet style screen. I love it, which means that we've got all of our controls there for our climate and things like that built right into the screen. So this is going to be a step-by-step. We're going to go through everything that you need to know about this screen. So let's start off with what's going on in general. So along the very top left-hand side, we've got our little Lightning truck. We're going to push that in order to be able to get to all of our controls, settings, and things like that. This one along the very top is going to be for some quick settings to a few things. And then back up there, we've also got our data transfer. We've got whether we're connected to Wi-Fi or not, current outside temperature, as well as our current time. If we had a device connected, that would show up in the middle. I'll come back to the home screen here after we have a phone connected, which we'll get to in a bit. We've got a hot tray down on the bottom there as well, and these are all of the apps that we've opened up recently. So whether that's going to be things like our FM, so AM, FM radio, navigation, things like that would show up there. We've got our climate control settings along the very bottom on top of that. So let's kind of go through this main screen. Starting off with our climate control settings, we've got dual zone climate control. We can easily adjust driver passenger side. We could push a button there in order to close it, but as you saw there, it automatically closes the other side. Well, either side that's up, just takes a moment or so for that to happen. We've got our air conditioning. We've got our fan control there, so we can adjust our fan speed either by dragging or by moving up and down this way instead. We've got our heated steering wheel, and then we've also got either ventilated or heated seats that we can easily adjust by going up and down, up and down there. So we've got that for both the driver passenger in the first row, so heated and ventilated. We've also got our max windshield or our max rear defroster, and then we've got our... Okay, so firstly, incredible song, incredible band, but the sound is incredible. It's amazing because we're in the upgraded Bang & Olufsen speaker setup because this is the platinum version of the truck. So audio is great. I love that we've got this. It was found inside of the Mach-E as well as the 2021 Edge on top of that. So I love that we've got it in the F-150 here as well. It's just nice. It's kind of neat that we've got that tactile button on the outside, that knob, in order to be able to adjust our volume. And then we've also got our volume on off, and as you can see there, we've got a nice animation that plays when we turn it on or off, and then it also shows along the very top whatever's playing. But let's dive deep into figuring out what's going on with this screen. So starting off along the top left-hand side, with our driving modes, we've got a series of different modes available. So we're normal, sport, off-road, tow, haul, and it gives us a nice little animation as we switch in between there. So you can kind of see it jumping through. There we go. And then if we press the little info button there, it's for spirited and engaged driving. It gives you a little bit of a rundown on what each one is, but the sport mode is fantastic. One pedal driving, so we can easily toggle that on off, which means that we only need to worry about using the accelerator pedal. So inside of the Lightning, we wouldn't have to worry about using the brake. We still could use it, but once we take our foot off the accelerator, it's going to slow the vehicle down very rapidly. We can lock out our differential, and we've also got the propulsion sound, which is going to play a little sound as we kind of hit the accelerator with the gas. It's kind of neat. But so many different options that are available. I love my sport mode, but I mean, if you want it to be a little bit more efficient, using the tow haul mode might make sense if you're pulling something. Moving into our camera, we've got a series of different options available. So as you can see there, we've got a little cone right along the very front. We've got this, so our auto parking brake. So what that means is that when we turn the vehicle off, it's automatically going to throw on our parking brake. Hitting our little hamburger icon gives us a few other things. So we can create our own camera there if we want to. We've also got our front facing, so our front sensors there. We've got our our rear camera. We've got our front 180 degree view. So it's essentially front partial view, front 180 degree view. We've also got our hitch view. So we can either go for our generic backup camera or jump it down in order for our hitch view. So that as we back up and we're going to hitch up the trailer, we've got that as an option instead. We've also got our bed view camera. So if we want to see what's going on back there, we've got that flexibility. So there's tons of different options available here, or we can go back just to that 360 camera that shows us everything that's going on, and we can zoom in to specific spots if we want to on top of that. So it's kind of neat. This is for the for the park sensing system. So if we want to be able to turn those sensors on off, it's going to let us know. Obviously, if we're closer to an obstacle, it's going to give us a little bit of a notification there. So it's essentially green, yellow, red. So green, we're fairly close to hitting, green, we're getting closer to something. Yellow, we're even closer. Red, you've either hit something or you're very, very close. You can see we're a couple inches away on the outside there. Moving back into our views there, or we press the X button along the very top. We've got our access mode now, so we can either open the front if we want to. We can also unlock the charge cord. So if we're actually plugged in, we can unlock and lock the charge cord from the inside, and we can also turn on the charge port light. We've got some different options for towing. So we could, no active trailer connected, so we can easily add a trailer here. And I mean, it's straightforward. So we add in the name of the trailer and it gives us step-by-step directions on how to set a trailer up. It's really, really straightforward to use. Like we look at our connection checklist and we can see exactly what we need to be doing as we go. So it's a phenomenal system. I love that Ford's made it so easy, especially for first timers. Next up, we've got our smart hitch there. So it is going to let us know exactly what's going on for making sure that our trailer is balanced. You might need to look at weight distribution hitches and things like that, but we've also got options for our trailer. So whether that's conventional, whether it is weight distribution hitch, whatever the case may be, it's going to help us out with balancing the trailer. And again, very straightforward. We've got our hitch unit, whether that's in kilograms or pounds. Our onboard scales are very straightforward. I love how we've got all of our disclaimers here. Not intended for trade measurement usage. So obviously just want to be careful when you're using different things, but we've got whatever weight we've got for our current maximum. And then as we load things into the vehicle, it's going to let us know exactly how much weight we've used, whether that's vehicle, whether that's scale, whatever the case may be. We've also got our passenger cargo load reminders, and then we've also got our limits there. So we've got our weight estimate for not only what we're going to have inside of the truck, but also the weight of our passengers, just so that it can take into account how much total weight we've got inside the vehicle. And that's all tied into our max payload capacities. From there, we've got our zone lighting, and zone lighting on the outside, so we can toggle on all of the zone lights if we want to, on, off, whatever the case may be, turn the bed lights on, off, we can override settings, etc. Turn them all on if we want to, turn them all off, turn the whole system on or off. We could jump into some additional settings, which we'll get to once we get into the settings section of the screen there. Pro Power Onboard gives us a series of options. So we do have, as you can see there, different wattages for different parts of the truck. So we can easily toggle on each individual part there if we want to. And one of the benefits there is that we can essentially turn on or off each individual aspect of the truck. You can see in the middle what our current range is based off of our current charge level. We can turn the whole Pro Power Onboard system off if we want to. We've got a countdown timer, so power down timer, and then we've also got our power reserve. Where this comes into play is, let's say if you're going to be working on a job site, you're about 25-30 kilometers away from home or the nearest charging station, we can select when the Pro Power is going to turn off automatically based off of our selection. So if we want to make sure we can at least get home, you want to make sure that you're going based off of whatever your current charging location is, based off of home, wherever we can get a charge, whatever the case may be. And we've got all of our necessary fault tests. And then we've got parking. So this thing can help us out with both parallel parking, perpendicular parking, whatever the case may be. And it's a really straightforward system. So we can go there in order to see what's close by to us for general parking. But if we go back into our parking there, it can also help us out with park assistance. So we can push the little P button down the center stack there, and that's going to help us out with either parallel parking, perpendicular parking. We can do parallel park out. So there are quite a few different options available. If you want to know how the Park Assist system works, check down in the description below for that walkthrough on that one. We've got our intelligent backup power, and what this is going to do is essentially let your truck run as a generator. So if you want to power a building, things like that, we just add a station, and that's all done through the Ford Pass app. We've got some different options for our seat settings there as well. So we're in the platinum version of the truck, which means that we've got heated and ventilated first row seats. We've also got massage chair seats in the first row. So we can toggle the massage chair seats on there. There's also a button just by our left-hand side. We can toggle that on or off. And then as you can see, we've also got some additional options for each individual part of the seat. So if we want to give ourselves a little bit more of a seat that's going to be comfortable for us, we can do that for both the driver as well as for the passenger seat. Next up, we've got our valet mode. So we do have a 4-digit number that we can enter in, and that's going to lock out the main part of the screen. Climate control would still be usable, but the rest of the screen is locked out until we enter that 4-digit number again, and that's just for general safety. Moving into our settings next, we have a ton of different options available. So starting off with our sound settings along the very top, we've got our treble, mid-range, bass. So if we wanted to, actually this is normally good like here, mid-range, centered. And then we've also got our bass there. We can reset all if we want to. We've got our balance and fade, so we can easily adjust out as necessary, or just hit our general reset there. Moving back up, we've got our volume, surround mode. For our sound, do we either want stereo or surround mode? Moving into our radio next, we've got a number of different preset rows. So we've got up to 6 individual presets. I always just recommend maxing it out. We've got our radio and our radio text. So if we go back home for a second, and we've got our radio there. So we're going to hop inside, and as you can see there, so we've got all of our presets. So we've got up to 30 individual presets when we have the up to 6 pages available, which is kind of nice. So we can change song stations that way. We can go this way to seek if we want to. We can press there if we wanted to seek out to a station that way instead, pressing enter. We've also got the voice command prompt on the steering wheel. So if we wanted to, we could change stations this way. So a ton of different options to do it. Along the very top, we can change between AM, FM, SiriusXM. And as you can see there, a few other options. So when we're on SiriusXM, we can press this button if we wanted to be able to set either the station alert or for the artist. So when either or comes on, it'll let you know. We can search for certain things. So based off of whatever stations we've listened to, we've got different things for music, sports, news, etc. Moving back down, we've also got this button for our SiriusXM. So we've got our subscription info, we can personalize it, we can look at some options for favorites and things like that. Now, this is interesting because this button is actually dynamic and it's based off of whether we're in AM, FM. So if we watch there, hop back inside to our settings. So it's either going to be a SiriusXM button or it's going to be a radio button. And it's all based off of, as I mentioned, if we're in SiriusXM or whatever the case may be. So if we hop back inside our settings, all of a sudden we're SiriusXM here. So we can go to our favorites. We've got our listening history. Oh, and back inside. Get to it a few different ways if we want to. We've also got all of our listener settings. We can block explicit content. We can have it tuned to start to whatever station. We've got our help and support, so we can contact SiriusXM for help. Now, inside of the F-150, you get 3 months of included service for a new SiriusXM subscription. If you've already got an active subscription, all you're going to do is just call SiriusXM with all of our info there in order for them to transfer the subscription over. Moving into our phone list, we've now got the option of easily adding in a phone. So we can add in both Android and iPhone devices, and it's a very simple process to be able to add in either one. So I'm going to show you how it's done, and we're going to start off on the iPhone side of things. So what we're going to do on our phone is make sure that Bluetooth is on. We're just going to hit add phone.
Search for your vehicle on your device and select it once it is found.
And we're just waiting for F150 Lightning to show up, and we're going to connect.
Confirm that the pin displayed on sync matches the pin displayed on your device.
They match up there, so we're going to hit yes. Do we want to allow contacts and favorites to sync up? I'm going to say don't allow.
For your safety, please stay alert to changing road conditions and use Sync's voice-activated features while your vehicle is in motion.
Perfect. So next up, because we're in the Sync4 system, we've got support for wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. And it's very simple to set it up. So as you can see there, it tells us that it's available there. We've got the option of using CarPlay. We'll get to that in a second because the last thing I want to do is show you 911 Assist. I always recommend turning that one on. And the big reason why is because if we're ever in a serious accident, it's automatically going to dial 911 for you. So make sure you connect it there and we're set up. And do we want to allow F-150 to use use CarPlay? Yes, so we're going to connect there. We just need to enable. Okay, and we need to enable wireless projection in order to be able to use it. So let's enable. What's that, a few seconds in, and should launch up. There we go. And we are connected. So it is connected there. I'm not sure why it's giving us this. There we go, perfect. All right, so fully connected. This is as full screen. We can go a teeny bit more as it's going to get. So as you can see there, it takes up as much possible real estate there, which is nice. We've got ways that we can use. We push this button along the very bottom to get to this screen. So as you can see there, we've got Waze, we've got Google Maps, we've got Apple Maps. We can use any of those applications directly through this middle screen, which is definitely a nice thing. And as I said, we can go either full screen, we can go partial screen as well, and that's as much real estate as it potentially takes up, but it is nice. Now obviously this is going to be Apple Maps, so we can easily search, we can look at destinations. Hopping back, we've also got podcasts, so if you're a fan of listening to podcasts and things like that, you've got that flexibility. Moving back home, we can swipe back to the main screen there. We can jump back across if we want to go to different applications. So it is really nice that we've got so much flexibility there. We've got different things. So Hoopla is going to be essentially for library books and things like that. We've got podcasts, we've got audiobooks and things like that. So a ton of different options that are available inside of this thing. Now on our phone, if we go into General, so we're going to go General, CarPlay, we're going to look for our vehicle. We can turn CarPlay on or off, we can forget it, or we can customize it. So let's say if you're a bigger fan of listening to your audiobooks and your podcasts, you can do a drag and drop there. If you're not a fan of the audiobooks, it gets rid of it completely, so it's not on the screen anymore. It's on the bottom there, which we could technically add in, or we just hit reset if we want to bring it back to our factory default instead. So it's very straightforward using it. One thing to note is that when we turn the vehicle off, turn it back on again, we just have to relaunch through CarPlay. So we don't physically have to continue to connect the way that I just showed you there at the beginning, but we still do need to launch back into CarPlay. And then if we to jump back into CarPlay there. And then if we're on anything else, like our maps, whatever the case may be, we've got our main screen set up there instead. So it's very straightforward. We can launch back into CarPlay there, and that's as simple as it is. So we've got my phone that's connected there. We can jump into the phone, we can jump into podcasts, we can jump into maps, Waze, whatever the case may be. And it's all done right through this middle screen instead. Or if you'd prefer to use factory navigation, you can just button press in order to use factory navigation instead. But I mean, really straightforward in order to be able to use this thing. And setting up an iPhone device inside of the car. We can press this if we want to go back. We can jump into our settings there. We've got the phone list, so that phone that I just connected. We can jump into some phone settings, we can remove it, or if we connect to Bluetooth, it's going to disconnect CarPlay because you can't have them both set up. So it's either Bluetooth audio or it's going to be your phone through CarPlay. So obviously downloaded failed because I didn't give it permission to download my contacts. But if we jump inside, we can go to settings, we can manage contacts, we've got ringtones, messages, battery notifications, we can remove the phone again, or we can connect to CarPlay. And then we can also press and hold the voice command prompt on the steering wheel. And then that gives us the flexibility of using Siri. So very straightforward to be able to do it. We can also just do a short button press instead if you'd want to use your regular Sync4 assistant. So short button press gives us our Sync4 assistant. Longer button press gives us our either Siri or our Google Assistant, which is definitely a nice thing. But it's that simple, being able to set up an iPhone inside of the vehicle. Next up, setting up an Android device is the exact same process. So obviously the iPhone's connected there, but whether you had that phone connected or not, all we're going to do is go to our settings. So if we were on any of the other screens here, just going to hop down and we can go to our settings and then jump into our phone. We're just going to hit add phone. And all we're going to do on our other phone,
search for your vehicle on your device and select it once it is found.
We're just waiting for F150 Lightning to show up. There we go, and we're going to connect.
Confirm that the pin displayed on Sync matches the pin displayed on your device.
Pin numbers match up, so let's hit OK there.
For your safety, please stay alert to changing road conditions and use Sync's voice-activated features while your vehicle is in motion.
So whether or not it connects to your contacts, yes or no, it's a matter of preference. Allow access to messages, same thing. So I'm just hitting deny just because this isn't my car, but we've got the phone connected now. Now it's also saying that device supports Android Auto, so we're just going to enable that. Okay, and a few seconds in, let's continue the setup. So we are fully connected, and it's that simple to be able to do it. Like I love it. I love how simple it is inside of it. So for both the Android and the Google side of things, or for both the Android, I should say, and the iPhone side of things. But fully connected, you can see my phone there. We can hop into our settings by doing this instead. So we can connect to Bluetooth if we want to go through all of the other settings. We've got now favorite phone. So if we've got multiple devices connected, it's who gets connection priority first. So if you have both phones connected, it's who's going to try to connect to Bluetooth first. You've got a few different options available. Closing that down launches us back into Android Auto. So we've got a few things along the very bottom. We've got our podcast there. We've also got our music, notifications. We've got our microphone. Very similar to what we saw on the iPhone side. We can press and hold if we want to get into our Google Assistant that way, or we can just press the microphone along the bottom there to jump into our Assistant that way instead. We can button press to get back to Google Maps. We can easily search for an address. We can look at our settings and block out traffic. We've got different route options there for motorways, toll roads, and ferries. We push this little button in order to jump into our Android Auto main screen. So we've got Google Maps and a few other basics there. So not quite as many features and options as we're going to find inside of the iPhone side of things. From what I hear, we should be getting an updated screen some point soon. So I'm like, fingers crossed, we get a little bit more of a dynamic look and more options available, but still quite a few different options that are available inside of this thing. And then if we go back home, so to our car there, go into our settings, a few different ways we can get to it, but again, we've got both phones connected. So if we go to the main phone there, we could connect if we want to, jump into our settings. We can also easily remove the phone. So a few seconds in, that's removed the iPhone that I get connected. And then we can disable Android Auto. We can look at the settings, remove the Galaxy, removed. 3, 2, 1. So both phones are now connected. So it's that simple, being able to set up an Android and iPhone device inside of the F150 Lightning. All right, so that's the basics there. Next up, we've got some options for charging. So charging as of right now, as you can see there, so when plugged in, we've got our total range. We've got our current battery percentage there on top of that. Moving down, we've also got our one charge max limit. So this is useful. Let's say if you're supercharging, you don't want to go past 80%. You've got that flexibility from the inside. If you're charging from home, you only want to go to a max percentage. You've got that flexibility. That's just one time and then it resets. We've got our EV driving history, so we can do a reset there, and that's just going to reset all of our history settings. We've got our departure and comfort. So where the departure, we edit it out, where departure and comfort comes into play is if we're going to be preconditioning the cabin. So let's say if you leave for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday at the same time. So let's say you're out at 7 o'clock a.m. You want the car to be cool. You've got that set up. We now want to do the same thing for evenings. So let's say the evenings. There we go. And we want to make sure evenings at 5 o'clock when we get back to our car, they're going to be on. There we go. So as you can see there, we've got it preconditioned. So when the truck is plugged in, it's going to automatically precondition the cabin for us in order to be able to either be cool, medium, or warm. So rather than it relying on the battery power as you start driving, when you hop in, it's just going to be nice and ready for you. Or if you want to, we can just go clear all, clear, and that just resets everything for us instead. So very straightforward. Let's drop this down a teeny little bit. There we go, that's better. Oh, that's nice. But that's the basics of the departure comfort. And you can have different dates, different times, and things like that selected. And then you can select whatever time and whether or not you want it cool, medium, or hot. So it's going to automatically be that way when you hop inside of the vehicle, which is fantastic. Next up, we've also got our charge locations. So we go to edit that out. Don't have any charge locations added in, but what happens there is that you can select different charge locations, and then you can select whatever you want the max charge to be at each location. So if you've got a location at work, at home, whatever the case may be, you can set what times you also want to have the charge done. So if you don't want it done in the morning or during the day, you want to say for cheaper electricity rates later on at night, we can do that based off of each location. Next up, we've got our personal profiles. So if we've got multiple people driving the vehicle, we can set up individual profiles. So we can literally everything here. We can link our fob, our phone, memory buttons, and things like that, all to our unique profile. So all we do is set up our profile, we set up our seats, we set up all of our other options, key fob, and things like that. And that's going to remember all of your settings. So everything's set up for you. So if there's multiple people driving the vehicle, create profile, add a name, follow through, straightforward. Next up, we've got our driver assistant settings, and there are a ton of different options that are available here. So we've got our auto hold setting. With that setting on, if we have the vehicle in drive and then we go to drive, or we go to come to a complete stop, we can take our foot off the brake and it's going to hold the vehicle in place. Cruise control, we've got, technically 3 different types. So we've got our normal cruise, we've got our adaptive cruise control. Okay, I get it. We've got our adaptive cruise control. Lane centering with hands-free is our blue cruise. So what that's going to do, cameras that are going to watch our eyes, and it literally lets us work with the vehicle hands-free. So on certain highways, not everywhere, but it is nice it's available there. Whether or not that happens, it's going to activate, and then based off of speed sign recognition with a tolerance. So let's say if we've got our cruise control at 100 kilometers an hour and we've got the tolerance at 0. If the vehicle recognizes it goes, let's say from 80 or let's say 100, from 100 kilometers an hour, it drops down to 80, it's automatically going to drop us down to that 80 kilometers an hour. If we've got a tolerance of 10 and it drops down from 100 down to 90, or down to 80, it's going to automatically lower us down to 90 instead. So we've got a few different options available. Whether tolerance is on, it's going to be based off of that speed sign recognition. Our speed limit assist, so our warning, if we're going too fast, it's going to let us know we should slow down. Our lane keeping system works a few different ways. So we've got 3 different modes. So alert, it's going to give us a little bit of a steering wheel shake, almost as if we're running over rumble pavement. It's going to give us an aid, which will gently nudge us back into our lane, or it's going to give us an alert and an aid. So it'll shake, and then it'll gently nudge us back into our lane. So we've got quite a few different options that are available there. And from there, we've got our pre-collision assist. So if the vehicle recognizes a potential collision, it's going to brake for us. How close until we get into that potential accident? So we've got distance indications there. Automatic braking means it'll brake for us. Evasive steering means that it's essentially going to put our vehicle into hypersensitivity mode to help us get out of the way of a potential accident. And then our sensitivity level, do we want it to be either a high, normal, or low sensitivity based off of the pre-collision assist? Like I said, or we can just turn the whole system off if we don't want any of these different safety settings. We've also got, our rear camera delay. So that means that when we've got our rear camera on, whether or not the delay happens, so when we go to drive forward, if the camera stays on for a few seconds or not. Blind spot system, that lets us know if anybody's under the blind spot on either side of the vehicle. Yes, no. Our parking sensors, do we always want to have the front and the rear sensors working? Yes, no. Cross traffic alert, so as we go to back up, if there's a potential obstacle behind us, it's going to let us know of that potential collision. Reverse brake assist, as we are backing up, if there's something behind us that we don't see, it's automatically going to brake for us. And then our driver alert, which is tied into the lane keeping system. So if we start to veer over too many times without signaling, we get too many warnings, it's eventually going to tell us that we should probably take a break. So next up, we've got some vehicle settings. Vehicle power down timer means that the vehicle's automatically going to turn off after 30 minutes. Rear occupant alert, when we drive, we park the vehicle and we go to get out, it's going to let us know to check the back seats. Key detection alert, do we see the key, yes or no? Easy entry exit means that with it on, it's going to automatically lower the seat and then back it up in order for you to get in and out of the vehicle a little bit easier. My key gives you the flexibility of creating certain limitations for the key fob, for each individual key fob. So if you've got a kid that's driving the vehicle, you don't want them to speed excessively, you can lock out the speed for the key fob. You can set max radio volume and things like that. Onboard serial number, we've got our alarm system set up, so if you always want to have the vehicle ask if you want the alarm on or off, with our motion sensors that are all the way throughout the vehicle on the inside outside. Remote start setup, so do we want to have the remote start system activated, yes or no? But then when we go to remote start, what happens? Does our climate control turn on automatically, or is it based off of our last settings? Do we want to have the heated seat or steering wheel come on automatically or not? And the duration of the start, 5, 10, or 15 minutes. And that's all done by using the Ford Pass app on our cell phone. So very straightforward to be able to use. Check in the description below for that walkthrough. And next up, we've also got options for our wipers. So courtesy wipe, after the main wipe cycle, it's going to wait a second and go one more time to get rid of any excess liquid. And then do we want our rain sensing wipers on, yes or no? We can either go for our power or manual tailgate. Our lighting, so we've got glare-free lighting, welcome lighting on the outside. Our lamp delay, do we want the lights to stay on for 10 seconds, 20 seconds, or 120 seconds when we go to lock the vehicle? And then we've got our zone lighting. So zone lighting settings, we can either enable or disable the override. And then our reverse lamps. Do we want to have our reverse lamps as part of the overall zone lighting, yes or no? We've also got some options for our locks. So auto unlock when we go to park the vehicle, mislock chirp. So if we've shut a door and we haven't fully shut the door, we go to lock, it's going to let us know that we haven't shut the doors properly. Do we want to have all doors or just the driver's door become unlocked when we go to unlock on the key fob? We've got options for mirrors. Do we want to have the mirrors automatically fold in when we go to lock using our fob? Keypad code, so there's a 5-digit factory number, and then after we enter the 5-digit factory number, we can enter in our own unique 5-digit number, and that's just to get in and out of the vehicle if we don't have our key fob on us. Backup start password, that gives us the option of using our phone as a key essentially. So if your vehicle's equipped with it, we go through the Ford Pass app to set that up. We just enter in a backup password. So if your phone's died, we would enter the 5-digit number to get inside. We'd enter the 5-digit number to get inside the vehicle, enter in our start backup password in order for the vehicle to then be able to start up for us to be able to drive away. Low battery warnings, when we get to 30, 50, or 80 kilometers, definitely useful in the EV. And we can reset our history, and then we can also do an emergency tow if we need to. Some general settings, we can change it out between English, Spanish, or French. If you'd want Celsius, Fahrenheit, kilometers, or miles per gallon, tire pressure units, that beeping that we're getting. All throughout, we can turn it off. We've got some options for About Sync, our software licenses. We can do a reset for Ford Pass or a master reset for the full vehicle. Some different display settings. So as big and bright, as beautiful as this display is, if you find it to be a little bit too much, we can turn on a calming screen instead. Just button press in order to turn it back on again. And hopping back inside to our display, we've got our brightness settings, so we can easily adjust the brightness there. And then we can change it out for the mode. So as of right now, it's in the auto mode, and it's technically showing the light mode because of how bright it is outside. But we can either have the light or the dark mode permanently showing. It's just going to be a matter of personal preference which mode you go for. From there, we've got some clock settings. So we could jump into settings and clock, or if we just press the clock along the top, it's going to jump us into these settings. We can change up the hours, minutes, AM, PM. If you prefer that military time, we can do that. And we can also have it update our time based off of where the vehicle's located. Connectivity, I recommend connecting for a few different things. So we've got the option of sharing different things with Ford if we want to. We've got our SiriusXM 360. We can toggle all these things on off. We can toggle our Bluetooth off, and we can even change our vehicle name. So if you want it to be Bob's truck, you've got the flexibility of being able to do it through connectivity there. We've got some options for wireless app projection, and then our big one will be manage Wi-Fi networks. So you're going to connect to a Wi-Fi network at home, and big reason why is to tie in with our system updates. So automatically the vehicle is going to update the vehicle. The vehicle will update itself, I should say, if it recognizes that there's an update available. It might take a while, like 3, 4, 5 hours for it to download and fully install. So definitely take that one into account there. From there, we've also got our vehicle hotspot. So as you can see there, we've got our LTE data. We do require a data-only plan through our cell phone provider in order to be able to use this system, but it is available there as an option. And Ford is actually giving people a credit if you don't want the LTE system specifically. You'd still be able to use Ford Pass, you just wouldn't be able to use the hotspot instead. So it's a matter of preference. I think you save like $50 or something like that. But we can see our data usage. We've got different setups for the hotspot, so we could use it, like I said, wireless hotspot for up to 10 devices with a data-only plan. We've got our system updates, some different mobile apps, departure and comfort, which we saw already. So we can set whatever days and times we want the vehicle to be preconditioned. We've got our 911 assist, which requires a phone to be connected. Our voice assistant, and this is cool because it gives us all of the different options. Like I love that we can change the climate with our voice inside of Sync4. It's amazing. We can have it listen for a wake word. So rather than pressing the voice command prompt on the steering wheel and having this menu come up, that's the voice command list, by the way. We can have it listen for different words. So if we say, "Okay, Ford," we have the voice command list come up instead. So it's nice. It's essentially going to be hands-free from that perspective too. Advanced modes means we won't get as many notifications. Phone confirmation, do you want to call such and such person, yes or no? Intelligent backup power, so you do need to have a Ford Charge Pro station at home, but that's essentially going to let the vehicle essentially put power back into the station in order to charge your house up instead. So if the vehicle if the power is out at your house, you would be able to use this essentially as a mobile generator based off of whatever your current charge levels are. We've got some different options for towing there as well. So we've got our default trailer, we can add in the trailer. We've got our trailer sway control. So if the vehicle recognizes there's a sway going on, it's automatically going to try to get that sway under control for us. And then we've got some ambient light options. So we can turn the ambient light on off, but it's only going to be just a single color light. So we don't have the option of like RGB going through different light colors. Strictly going to be that single light, unfortunately, but it's still nice that it's there as an option. And from there, we've got this little icon along the very top where we can edit our profile, create. All of our profiles would be listed along the very top. We can do a hot button press to get into our radio if we want to. As you see there, we've got different options along the bottom now. But moving back inside, we've got our phone, which we already saw, and then factory navigation. So factory navigation is fantastic. And then same thing what we saw in Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. We could go fuller screen with it. Not completely full, but pretty dang nice all at the same time. Nice pinch to zoom capability. We can easily rotate out from there. We've got our 3D view, head-up view, etc. We can also rotate our view that way if we want to. So a few different options that are available there. We can also close that down that way. We can circle back in on our car. If we want to, we can also do this to see what's up ahead. Exit services, parking, we can see where we are. We've got tools, we've got some different settings that are available. So if we want to see what's going on with our settings, we've got our different map view, different map layer. We can see what map we currently have installed. We've got some options for guidance. So if we want to have voice prompts, if we just want to have tones as we come to an upcoming turn, do we want to have it automatically zoom in or out as we get closer, further to the destination? Do we want it to have the fastest, shortest, or the most eco-friendly route? Different trailer navigations. Do we want to have access to, so adding the charger to the route automatically? Useful because we're in the electric truck, so it'll automatically add stations along the way that we need to stop at. Do we want to avoid certain things? So do we want to avoid U-turns, toll roads, ferries, car trains, and a number of other things? We can custom avoid, and we've also got our GPS simulator there. We can search for things based off of relevance. We've got our coordinates, so we can search for an address, or we can just plug in our GPS coordinates under search to go that way. Options for traffic. Do we want to show traffic? Yes, no. Different notifications for red light speed cameras, which is kind of cool. For school zones, parking, curves ahead, lateral wind ahead, and a number of other things. So useful for some of these things if you're pulling a trailer. And then some options for user data. So if we want to clear or if we want to export all of our data, etc., we've got the flexibility to be able to do that. And from here, we've got this along the very bottom so we can see our data. So whether it's showing elevation, if we want to show the city, distance to travel, etc., we've got that option. We can click here if we want to see our current address, our coordinates, nearest intersection, and then all of our other options. So finding hospitals, chargers, tow services, and things like that. We've also got our current elevation, direction, location, etc. So we can select different things along the very bottom. We've also got our current meter there. So we've got our coordinates. We can zoom in, out, etc. Hit back. We can hit go. And then searching for an address is very straightforward. So we could look at our home or work address, and obviously we don't have anything set up, so we can set up our home address. One of the benefits there is that if we press the voice command prompt, we can say things like navigate home, navigate to work, whatever the case may be. We can explore different things. So if we want to look at chargers, dealerships, restaurants, banks, essentially whatever point of interest icons you can think of. We've got recently found locations. We've also got save locations, chargers, trips, trends, search tools, and things like that. So a ton of different options that are available. And then searching for an address, and like super simple, we just start typing in an address there. So we've got a few different options, kind of go up and down. We can kind of scroll as necessary. Oh, it's interesting, it's going to Buffalo. Damn, that's far, all right. And then we just select whatever addresses we want to. We can search for more addresses if it's not there. We can save it as a favorite. If our phone was connected, there was a number available, we could call it. We could hit go if we want to. We've got the option to look at it on a map. We can show what's going on with our charge there. Parking, do we want charging around the route? Do we want it to go fastest, shortest, most eco-friendly route, etc.? And then all we do, just hit go.
Obey traffic laws. Be alert and use voice commands while driving.
And there it is. So it gives us an option. Lets us know
route.
lets us know exactly how far it is in order for us to finish our trip up. We can press this button as well to see the full distance. Back to that main view instead if we want to. So really, really straightforward. We can hit go there. We can hit cancel, replace, whatever the case may be. We hit X along the very top, and that removes the route that we just set up. So very straightforward using factory navigation inside of this thing. From there, we've also got options for media. So media gives us a few different things that we can select between. So 3, 2, 1, it's going to add in a device, but we've got Bluetooth devices. If you had a USB stick with MP3s, that would show up. If you had your cell phone hooked up and an iPod with Bluetooth setup, etc., you've got so many different options that are available there. Moving back, if we were hooked up through Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, we've got a hot button press there. We can look at our current trip energy, so we can see how much energy has been used so far for this trip. Trip 1 versus our trip 2 counter on top of that. Moving back out, we've also got our owner's manual. So fully digital owner's manual built into Sync4. So if you get a weird message on the cluster, you've got the flexibility of doing visual searches. You've got category searches to look at all of these different things, which is kind of nice. So instrument cluster, power gauge, tells us exactly what we can expect out of the power gauge there, which is kind of nice. We've also got some added games, which is kind of cool. So we've got things like blocks, we've got Jigsaw, Sudoku, which is kind of cool. I love me my Sudoku. That's kind of nice. But it's like, the downside though is that it's just like such a simple one. So it is kind of nice that we've got this available as an option. I do wish, I mean, it would be kind of nice if there were some more like advanced versions of the numbers that we could look at. Oh, and it even gives you like hints as you go here. So, I mean, obviously super simple to be able to use this thing, but I mean, it's kind of neat all at the same time that we can kind of play some games when we've come to a complete stop inside of this vehicle. I kind of like that we've got that as an option there. And then we can move. Ooh, actually, does it give us more options? New game, how to play. Oh, no, okay, it doesn't. So it's just basic new game, etc. But it is kind of cool that we've got some games that we can play when the vehicle is stopped. And then we can jump into any of these other options that are available. But if you saw there, as we go through any of these options, it gives us a few things. So what happens is these are going to be the 6 most recent things that we've used inside the vehicle. And then from there, if we want to use any of them, we can tap in order for it to essentially swipe up, and it launches that in, but then it's pushed the maps down instead. So we've got quite a few different options that are available there, which is kind of cool. And then I did already mention we've got all of our different climate control settings along the very bottom of the screen, and then some other basics along the bottom here. So we've got our max windshield defrost, 4-way blinkers, our park assist button, as well as our traction control system on or off that we can easily press there. But that's everything you need to know about the Sync4 media screen.